Hello there, and then welcome to this channel. This is Hub Beyond Numbers, where we learn math the easy way. Now, in this playlist, we'll be looking at fractions. We'll be looking at everything concerning fractions according to the Common Core Program curriculum. If you are in Basic 9, 7, and then 8, all you need to know under fractions will be treated here. So at the end of this video, if you find it very helpful, kindly choose to subscribe so that as I continuously upload the videos also on other strands and substrands, you'll be notified and then learn along. Talking of fractions, when we say fraction, what comes to mind? When we talk of fraction, they represent a part of a whole. So fraction is what? A part of a whole. So if you have anything that is in a whole form, let's say if I have my circle here, and if I just take a part of it, if I just take a part of this fraction, this circle, it becomes a fraction. So this is what we mean here. I'm just coming to take a part of it. I hope you see that. I have just taken part of the whole circle. This here becomes a fraction of the whole. How do we represent fraction? When it comes to representation of fraction, we have something we call the numerator and then the denominator. Let's look at what these two things are. So when it comes to representation of fractions, we have it being expressed as what? An A over B. What does the A represent and what does the B on the other hand represent? We call the A the numerator. So it is the numerator, whilst our B is called the denominator. Now, what is the numerator? So when we talk of the numerator, it represents the number of parts that have been taken. It represents the number of parts that has been taken. And the denominator, on the other hand, represents the total number of equal parts the whole was divided into. The total number of equal parts the whole was divided into. So once again, let me represent this graphically so we appreciate what we are learning. So in this case here, I'm going to draw a circle once again. This here is my circle, and I'm going to divide it into a number of parts. So I'm going to divide it into, this here is 2 equal parts, and then this here I can say is 4 equal parts. If you want to represent this, the first thing that should come into mind as our denominator is 4, because we are saying the denominator represents the total number of equal parts. So we have 1, 2, 3, and then 4. There are 4 equal parts. So this representation here will be 4 as our denominator. Now, how many parts are we taking? How many parts are we being taking? So I'm coming to take some number of parts here so we see how we represent the numerator. So let's assume I'm just taking 1 part. So taking just a part of it, then we are going to say its representation, or if we want to express it as a numerator and then a denominator, then it means it is just 1 over the 4. Meaning that out of the 4 equal parts, we have taken just 1 of it. That is its representation. Now let's look at another one as well. So for this here, this circle here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my circle. And how many parts do we want to take? I'm going to take 3 parts. So dividing it into 4 equal parts. We have 1 and then 2. As you can see, I have divided my circle here into 4 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, and then 4. And how many do I want to take? Over here, I am taking 3 of the parts I have divided the whole circle into. So this here is going to be represented as a 3 over 4, because I have divided it into 4 equal parts. But what have I done? I have taken just 3 portions of it. Once again, because I have divided it into what? 4 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. But how many portions have I taken? 3 portions of it. Hence, my numerator is 3 and my denominator is 4. You may think that we can only represent fractions with circles, but that is not the case. You can use any shape, but at the end of the day, you just have to make sure you are dividing it into what? Equal portions. So this time around, let me take a square. I'm taking a square, so we see how we go about that. So I have my square here, and I'm going to do what? Divide it into equal portions. Take note, you have to divide it into equal portions. That is what our denominator likes. So I divide it 1. These are 2 equal portions. You see? And this now becomes 1, 2, 3, 4 equal portions. I am choosing to draw it diagonally. You can do yours vertically or horizontally. That is fine. But take note that your divisions should be equal. If I'm to take portions, if I am to take portions out of what I have drawn here, then how is it going to look like? Let's decide to take 2 portions of what we have here. I'm taking 2 portions of what we have. So these are my portions I have taken. And how would we represent this numerically? It is going to be what? Also a 2 on 4. Why? Because I have divided it into 1, 2, 3, 4 portions. That is our denominator here. And how many portions have I taken? 1, 2. 2 of them. That is how come we have what? 2 on 4. So now that we have grasped the concept of fractions and how they are represented, let's look at the types of fractions we have. The types of fractions we have. The types of fractions we'll be considering here, we'll just consider 3. The first one we are going to consider here is what we call a proper fraction. So 1, we have a proper fraction. That is for proper fractions. Examples can be what? The 3 over 4. Remember, this is our numerator. The 3 is our numerator and the 4 is our denominator. And because 3 is less than 4, it is a proper fraction. I guess you can give examples. You can write them in your books. So 1 over 2 is also a proper fraction. 9 over 10 is also a what? Proper fraction. There are so many, countless. If you have 100 over 101, it is a proper fraction. Why? Because our numerator is less than our denominator. The next type of fraction we should look at is the improper fractions. The improper fractions. So type 2, we have the improper fraction. So talking of the improper fractions, the numerator is greater. It is greater than or equal to the denominator. But let's stick to the greater than. That is what we are used to expressing it as. So for the improper fractions, our numerator is greater than what? The denominator. That is for improper fractions. How can this be? So let's look at some examples. Typical examples. So we have 5/3. As we can see, the numerator, which is 5, is greater than our denominator, which is what? 3. Another example, we have 10/2. The numerator, which is what? 10, is greater than our denominator, which is 2. You can give some examples yourself. So we have 5/2. These are all examples of what? Improper fractions. Then the last one we'll be looking at is what we call the mixed fractions. We call them mixed fractions. So talking of mixed fractions, for mixed fractions, they are a combination of whole number and then a proper fraction. They are a combination of a whole number and a proper fractions. So let's look at some examples here. If you have 1/3, we read it as 2 whole number 1/3. This part here is our whole number, and this here is our what? Proper fraction. As you can see, its numerator is less than the denominator. So these are examples of what? Mixed fractions. Some books call it the mixed numbers, but let's stick to mixed fractions. Mixed fractions, they are combination of whole numbers and what? Proper fractions. So you can take any proper fraction at all, write a whole number attached to it, and it becomes a mixed fractions. So you can have 5 whole number 3/7. This is a mixed fraction. 10 whole number 1/2. It's also a mixed fractions. All these are what? Mixed fractions. Now that we know what these fractions are, it is important to note that fractions can be converted to decimals, and they can also be converted into percentages as well. Fractions can be converted into what? Decimals, and can also be converted into percentages. That is what we'll be doing in our next lesson. Now, in this lesson, we have just looked at the introduction to fractions. We have looked at what fractions are, and then how to represent them as well. And we have also looked at what? The types of fractions we have. That is the proper fractions, improper fractions, and mixed fractions. See you in our next video. Now, if this video was helpful, kindly subscribe so that if I release my next video, you'll be notified and you can come and then learn as well. This is Hard Beyond Numbers, where we learn maths the easy way. If you want personal lessons where we can move at your own pace and then solve more examples, down on the scroll, my Telegram account is there. So you can just let me know anytime with just a message, and we can schedule meetings and then have lessons as well. Thanks for watching. Stay blessed.